Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Mohammed. This is Heavy Metal FPL, and in this video I'm going to quickly review Game Week 18 and prepare for Game Week 19. Quick summary of Game Week 18. Now in terms of who did well, I think this Game Week was defined on whether you had Solanke in your team or not, because he was on fire and he scored a hat-trick of very nice goals, actually two very good headers. Two of those goals were very good headers against Nottingham Forest. He scored a hat-trick, the first of his career, two very good headers and one poacher's goal. So if you had Solanke in your team, that probably made it a good game week. There was also West Ham doing well against Man United. They won 2-0 with their two main guys being on the score sheet. You got Bowen and you have Kudus both scoring a goal each. And also you got Areola in your team. Then you kept a clean sheet. So good on you if you still have him in your team as your goalie. I know I don't. Now, other people who did well, there's Gross from Brighton in Brighton's 1-1 match versus Crystal Palace. So he got an assist in that. Their son who delivered the goods versus Everton, he scored one of their goals, with Richarlison scoring the other for Spurs' 2-1 win over Everton. Other notable mentions are Gabriel. So if you still have him in your team as the budget Arsenal defender, he scored Arsenal's only goal against Liverpool as they drew 1-1. There's also Odegaard, who was flying under the radar and who continues to be just a good pick that not a lot of people have in their teams. Odegaard is kind of core to the way that Arsenal play. He's a very good player and also a good FPL asset. Though he might be a little bit pricey, but still very good. And I think underrepresented at sometimes or underrated at sometimes. So he got an assist and he continues to be consistent, and maybe, just maybe, he is competing with Saka because Saka has been not so good lately. So maybe he competes with him as Arsenal's best attacker. He got an assist for Gabriel's goal in that match. Now, Trent is also continuing to be consistent. I think it's like his fifth or sixth match with a return in a row. He got the assist for Liverpool's goal, which was from Salah. So Trent continuing to be very good, and I will discuss later about how I could potentially bring him into my team. Now, for the players who didn't do so well, there were a lot of them on my end, but I think in general it was maybe a low scoring game week. The average was very low. I think the average was just 35 points for this game week. I ended up being just a little bit below it, but the players who didn't do well, Trippier, who's starting to look a little bit bad. I mean, Newcastle, there's a big contrast between the way they play at home and the way they play away. They look very formidable at home, but then when they play away, they look like a completely different team, and they ended up losing 1-0 versus Luton. So Trippier didn't get didn't get anything this game week. You had Watkins, who a lot of people had captained, including me, and he was expected to haul against Sheffield United at home, but Aston Villa broke their record. I mean, broke their record in a bad way, in that their record of being undefeated in Villa Park came to an end in the most unlikely circumstances, as they drew 1-1 versus Sheffield United, last place in the league. So Watkins ended up blanking and disappointing a lot of managers, including me. So you had Saka, which I discussed earlier. Gordon ended up starting the match, which a lot of people were expecting him to not be a starter for their match, but he ended up getting nothing anyway. So all that talk about me potentially bringing Gordon into my team, is he going to be injured, is he not going to be injured, it ended up being for no reason, and he ended up blanking in Newcastle's match against Luton away. Now, Saliba blanked against Liverpool, but that was to be expected. Pedro Porro lost his clean sheet because Tottenham ended up conceding a goal versus Everton. You had Leno, so my goalkeeper curse continues because Leno ended up getting nothing. You had Darwin being a bit disappointment, continuing his disappointing run. You had Hwang, where Wolves beating Chelsea 2-1 ended up not being beneficial for Hwang owners because he didn't end up getting on the score sheet, though he did have a couple of good chances to get in on a goal, but it just was not to be. Martinelli, mainly a disappointment for me, and continues to be a disappointment for quite a long time, and I've already taken him out. Now, in terms of players who will be missing or are injured for the next match or are potentially missing their next match, there's Lascelles, who was on 75% starting now, right now. He picked up a knock during Newcastle's match. There is Simicaz, who's quite surely going to be missing Liverpool's next match against Burnley away. You have Cash, who is also a big doubt. You have Mitoma, who's also a big doubt. And for Man City, you've got Rodri, who picked up a knock in their match in the Club World Cup. So he might potentially be missing, though. In his report directly after the match, in the press conference, he said that he's likely going to be coming back to play versus Everton away. Now, KDB, the reason I put him in this list is that he might potentially be coming back soon. He's shown to be back in training, though this is not confirmed as of yet. He's definitely, I don't think he's going to be back for Everton just yet, but he might be coming back in January sometime soon. So he'll probably be on a lot of people's minds. From Chelsea, you had Sterling and Palmer. I included them over here because they both got their 5th yellow cards and will be missing their next match. So before I get into my team, I want to bring this image back up. I've brought it up a lot of times before, but it's definitely very, very important as we're coming close to Game Week 21 right now. These are all the players that are going to be missing in Game Week 21 because they're going to be participating for their national team. So make sure you keep these players in mind, whether you want to sell them or buy them or whatever your transfer plans are in the upcoming game weeks. Make sure you have it in mind that they will probably be missing minimum of 1 game week and maximum 4 game weeks, and coming back maybe game week 25 or even later than that, depending on their fitness. So how did my team do in game week 18? Not too well, pretty shambolic actually. I mean, just look at this team just on first look and you can see nothing but disappointment and dread out of this game week. So what did I do leading into the game week? I made one transfer, and that was Sanchez to Leno, to change my goalkeeper to have a more constant one, because Sanchez was confirmed to be injured for quite a while. I think he's out until April. So I got Leno in. My total points were just under average at 31. And my rank has decreased by about 200,000, or decreased, I don't know. I got a big red arrow. That's one way to say it. So I'm at just under 600k as of the moment. Very, very bad game week. A lot of players not doing well at all, and some more problems to add on to my team. So I'm trying not to overreact to it, and I'm trying to just play the patient game and just look back at my decisions. And I think a lot of them were good leading up to this game week, but just in hindsight, obviously you can't change any of that, but yeah, hindsight can be very, very cruel sometimes. So Watkins was my captaincy choice. I still affirm that that was the best captaincy option going into this. He was playing against Sheffield United at home, and Aston Villa were brilliant at home. So I wasn't going to pick Salah, and there was no way I would have been able to justify picking Salah playing against Arsenal, who were solid defensively, or Son for that matter. Now, Salah and Son were the only 2 players that got returns. That just defines my game week. I mean, I got 2 returns out of 11 players, and I also had 2 returns who were sitting on my bench. So just the same amount of returns on my bench as my actual starting 11. So that just shows you how bad this game week was. Now, in terms of flags, in terms of things that I do want to address, I have got Lascelles, who picked up an injury, but also the fact that Burn is back in Newcastle's lineup. He's back from injury, and you also have Botman, who's back from injury, and Shar makes Lascelles a bit of a concern for me as of the moment, because he might just lose his place in that starting 11 for Newcastle, and their upcoming fixtures are going to take a turn for the worse soon. So he's definitely one that I'm considering down the line for the chopping block. Another concern for me is Trippier, though he does have a very good fixture coming up. But Newcastle, like I said, their form, it's a big contrast whether they're at home or away. So he's a little bit of a concern. Wang is also someone I'm looking at letting go of soon, because he's going to be moving for AFC. And yeah, the same goes for Salah and Son. You've got Cole Palmer, who is suspended for the next match, but yeah, I'm not looking at removing him. I don't think he's a concern for my team whatsoever, because he's at such a cheap price. Martinelli, obviously the issue that I've had like pretty much since game week 8, so he's definitely a concern. I don't need to go into detail about why I want to remove him. And who else is a problem? I don't think anyone else is a problem in my team as of the moment. If you can point out someone else, then definitely let me know. So yeah, I left it as a little bit of a surprise as to what I did, but I finally made the decision to remove Martinelli from my team, and it felt so good to remove him because he's just been a thorn in my team for quite a long time since game week 8. So I finally got rid of him and I got Gordon in. Gordon, no, I mean, Newcastle, obviously, they are shaky in terms of their form, but they've got Nottingham Forest at home next. So that should be a very good fixture for them. Nottingham Forest, who have been struggling, and they got a new coach recently, and they're going to be playing in St. James's Park, where Newcastle are supposed to be very good. I can hope for a return from Gordon there. And that also frees up some of my funds. So I've got 7.3 million in the bank as of now. I've yet to know what I want to do with it, but I'll get into the transfer suggestions later in this video. So I think my team as of now looks pretty good going into game week 19. There is the Lascelles problem, and I might address that, but he still might start in the next game, and it's a very good one. So I'm not that hasty on trying to get him out of my team. All of the others, I think, are looking good for this game week. I know there's Alvarez playing against Everton away, and he's looked very bad, but it might just be another week with Alvarez in my team, given that Haaland is not coming back anytime soon, and there's just news on him. I mean, it still seems to be a little bit conflicted, and we're unsure on whether he's going to be coming back for game week 19 yet. It looks most likely that he's going to miss it. He's marked as 50% missing the next match in the FPL app as of now. They showed him recently coming back to training, but I still want to confirm on news whether I want to bring him back in or not, because I think that'll be guiding a lot of my transfer decisions. As for all of the others on my team as of the moment, I think they're doing all right. I like Archer being on my bench just in case Lascelles doesn't start this match, and I would expect Lascelles to not come in as a cameo appearance, and hopefully I'm not wrong on that. But if Lascelles doesn't start, then I've got Archer. He scored a goal in his last match for Sheffield United, so that was good. Strikers need that goal to get some confidence, so he will be first on my bench just in case Lascelles doesn't start or anyone else on my team. So I switched Archer with Taylor. I think Archer is just much better as a number one on my bench as opposed to Taylor, who will be playing against Liverpool. Definitely not a good fixture, and Burnley might just concede a lot of goals to Liverpool in their next match. Now, I've already made one transfer, which was Martinelli to Gordon. It was very satisfying, but I'm looking at potentially making another one. So I've got the potential options for a -4 since I don't have another free transfer. These are the options that I have in mind, and I think it's all guided on by whether Haaland is gonna be available or not. So I want to just wait on news from that. The deadline is tomorrow, so I think I've got exactly 26 hours from this point, from the point of recording this video, to find out, and I'll be checking on the news during this holiday season just to see if Haaland will be available or not. But if he is, then I'm straight away going to just upgrade Alvarez to Haaland. I've been planning that move for quite a while, and a lot of my transfer decisions in the past weeks were centered around Haaland coming back. So I just don't want to abandon that, and I think he'll be a good advantage to have on all the people who immediately sold him as soon as he was injured, and spread his funds across the many other players, which I think has resulted in them climbing up in rank and maybe upgrading to get Trent or to get Solanke or whoever it is in their team. So I want to get Haaland back and try to get an advantage on all those people. So if Haaland is available, I want to go from Alvarez to Haaland. If he's not, and he's confirmed to be available for quite a while, then I have many options because I've got funds to spread around in my team and upgrade elsewhere. So first of those options is Hwang, who will be leaving for AFC soon, and that would be for long-term pick Bowen. I don't like that for this game week because Bowen will be playing against Arsenal away, so not a good fixture whatsoever. I like Bowen long-term, but just not worth taking a -4 right now, given that he's got that tough fixture. I've also got Archer to Solanke because I think that the next formation that people are going to be opting for is a 3-4-3 rather than a 3-5-2. I think a lot of people will be trying to make that move. I think it just makes a lot of sense given that there's 3 template strikers as of now who who three good strikers who will make up the template team, or the team that I think a lot of people will be going for ideally, because you've got Haaland when he comes back, and then you've got Solanke, who's just on fire now, and you've also got long-term pick Watkins, who's expected to be good every game week or two for Aston Villa. So you've got Haaland, Solanke, and Watkins, and given that Son and Salah are both going to be leaving for AFC and AFCON respectively, you will probably have four midfielders, so 3-4-3. And the way you get to that is by upgrading a bench fodder or whoever was your attacker who was on the bench. For me, it's Archer. I would potentially be using the funds that I have right now to upgrade Archer to Solanke. This might mean that I don't have enough funds to bring in Haaland later, but I'll have to figure that out afterwards. I can't just be held back by this transfer, especially if he's out for a long time. I don't want to be held hostage by the funds that he's just, that he might be coming back soon or whatever. I will have to worry about that later, about how I'm going to bring him into my team. So Archer to Solanke. Now, my favorite out of all these moves is a definite upgrade, and it's Lascelles, who is, someone who is not going to be starting. I think he's expected not to be starting for Newcastle soon, given that all his substitutes are back from injury, and that would be to upgrade him to Trent. Now, Trent been very, very consistent, been getting a lot of returns, being involved as a big part of Liverpool's attacking play. So, brilliant FPL pick. And he's playing against Burnley away next. So if there's a good time to get him, it's probably now. And he is the heaviest of my considerations, especially if Haaland is confirmed out for a long time. I might just go for it and just sell Lascelles and get Trent in. I think this is my preferred pick. But yeah, it all depends on the news. So I'll be keeping a close eye on it this holiday season and just seeing whether Haaland will be back or not. And that wraps it up for my transfer decisions. And that marks the end of this video, guys. It was a very, very bad game week, but I'm hoping that the FPL gods can give me a good Christmas gift, because the next deadline is going to be just tomorrow. So make sure you have that in mind and that you make whatever decisions that you want to do for your team, or for your captaincy and all of that, before the deadline, which will be tomorrow. I'm hoping I can get a Christmas gift with a green arrow during the Boxing Day matches. We will see how that goes. I will have one more video just on captaincy, because I think it's a pretty complex one, this for Game Week 19. That will be coming up tomorrow. Until then, I wish you the best of luck, happy holidays, and I will see you all soon.